the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Questions from the Italian Football Podcast patrons, where you, our patrons, decide what the show is about by simply sending in your questions via email, DM on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but preferably via DM on Patreon. I am joined, as always, by Carlo Garganese. We've got 31 questions sent in, as we were unable to record a Q&A last week, so please bear in mind, some of these have been edited and re-edited, but we've got 31 questions, and I'm joined, as always, by Carlo Garganese. So let's start with the first question, which has been sent in from Missak, who says, is it possible for a Vlahovic-Zirkzee swap in January? Like, Vlahovic is a Gyökeres-esque striker, and Motta gets his guy in. The valuations are almost identical, around 40-50. The wages United would handle it, and Juve would handle Zirkzee's current wage, which is about 10 million gross. Dusan earns 22 million gross. Thoughts and feelings? And of course, Juve has to get an additional player to support the attack, because Milik is a mythological being and not a real person, and does not exist in this plane of reality. Regardless, this issue must be solved by both sides. Well, Carlo, what do you make of this?
I think a swap deal with Manchester United, one player, with the players changing clubs, I don't see that happening. I think that's very, very unlikely. I'm not sure if there's any real interest at all from United's side or from Ruben Amorim in Vlahovic. To be honest with you, I think he's probably too similar a profile also to Højlund, who they already have. So I don't see that happening. What I do think is a possibility, though, and it's a story I've been working on a little bit myself for a few weeks now, is that I wouldn't say it's impossible that Juventus could sell Vlahovic if the right offer comes in. And as we've discussed on this show, there isn't really much interest in him, so that's going to be difficult. But Arsenal are a club that are being heavily linked to Vlahovic. They need a striker, and they're looking potentially for a striker in January. They're also a little bit desperate because they don't have a real natural number 9 that scores goals, and they're having to play Kai Havertz this season as a 9, and he's obviously not a 9. So they are looking for someone. And that desperation for someone might make them more willing to sign someone like a Vlahovic, who is somebody that they tried to sign the January 2022 window that Juventus signed him. Arteta is a fan, or certainly was a big fan then. So I wouldn't rule out Arsenal potentially coming in for him if the maths all add up for both sides, and then using that money for Juventus to then go to sign Zirkzee from Man United. I mean, that could be a loan, possibly to start with. It could be a loan with an option or some kind of obligation if certain standards are met. That I think I wouldn't rule out. It's going to be very difficult because you've mentioned some of the numbers there. Lots of dominoes have to fall into place for it to happen. Even from United's side, they also need to make a final decision. Kia Joorabchian is going to meet with United in the next days to discuss Zirkzee's future going forward. United need to tell Joorabchian and make the decision and final decision. Yes, we'll let him go in January. And they have a lot of stuff going on at United, like Marcus Rashford just yesterday. We're recording this on Wednesday. Just said that he basically openly said he wants a new challenge. Basically said he wants to leave United in January. He's just admitted that, so he wants to leave. Garnacho is not happy and is open to leaving as well. So you've got two unhappy players there. Then you've got someone like Antony already, who's a disaster. And United would probably like to leave him, let him go, but I'm sure they won't be able to get rid of him. So you've got a lot of other attackers and strikers that want out already. They can't all leave, so United need to make a decision. So there's a lot. It's a complicated situation. But do I think it's going to be a swap? No, but no chance. But do I think that is a possibility that Juventus could sell Vlahovic in January and then bring in Zirkzee as a replacement? To that, I would say difficult, but I would say it's not impossible.
What sounds like quite the little mess, as is now, well, not now, as has always been the case when Kiorash Jurobchian is involved. It's quite the little merry-go-round, and he has a knack for his players always finding themselves in these situations. I think his move to United, I said it at the time, I thought it was a huge mistake. I think he had no business going there. He's not a Premier League player. He's never been. He's not quick enough. He's not explosive enough. I just think it was stupid of him to go there. He should have gone to Juve. I think that should have been what Juve should have pushed for. Juve should have pushed to sell Vlahovic in the summer and bring in Zirkzee. That's my opinion, because he knows exactly what Thiago Motta wants. They have worked together. Thiago Motta made him explode under him. So that was a huge mistake by Giuntoli, I think, in the summer. And I think I agree with everything you said, what can happen, but I think given, I don't see Marcus Rashford leaving in January either. I think he's going to run out his contract or leave in the summer.
Well, his
I just don't.
His contract's long. He won't run out his contract because he's got a
Oh, I
long
thought it was in the
contract.
June. Sorry, pardon. Yes,
No, they
my bad.
stupidly gave him
No,
a new contract after that 30-goal season.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
but
right. Yeah, they did, didn't they? Yeah.
yeah.
I thought his contract was expiring in June. But
It's just that
so
he
you're
put
absolutely
United in a
right.
difficult position. You come out and publicly say, "I want to leave the club now." Do you know what I mean? But again, I think Rashford will have the same situation almost with Vlahovic, and he's on like stupid money, like £325,000 a week. How many clubs in Europe can afford that? Like you can count them on a few fingers. And then the form that he's in and the
Which
money
is
that
why I
United
think he'll
want
stay in the Premier
is
League.
basically.
Which is why I think, yeah,
I think it's Saudi
I think he's
Arabia
going to stay in
or
the
stay at
Premier League.
United. To be honest with you,
No, I think he's
yeah.
going to stay in England. I think he's staying in the Premier League. He's a Premier League proven striker. So he'll the Prem faces are salivating at the prospect of paying lots of money for Rashford. And I don't think he's going at 27. He's going to Saudi Arabia, especially given what he said about the World Cup, wanting to play in the World Cup for England. That he still thinks his peak is ahead of him because he's only 27. I mean, I read that whole interview that he did with Henry Winter, I think it was. Which was interesting in and of itself, but that's a separate topic. But regardless, I think I do think that Rashford will stay in England. I think he'll stay in the Premier League, and I think that's what he wants too. And I think fair enough. But just to get back to Zirkzee, huge mistake for him to go to United. Huge mistake for him to go to the Premier League. Juve should have moved heaven and earth to get rid of Vlahovic and bring in Zirkzee. Swap deal with Zirkzee Vlahovic. Yes, it's difficult, but I think as January 30th approaches, people get desperate. And when things we've seen before, when deadline day approaches in the middle of the season, crazier things have happened. But I do agree with you that maybe Arsenal will finally get that, make that, sign him, which is what they wanted when Juve got him. And maybe that can in turn unblock Zirkzee to Juve. But regardless, I think Zirkzee is the perfect striker for this Juve. He's exactly what they need, and I think he would unblock and unlock, and potentially he would unlock and unblock Thiago Motta's Juventus attack, but also by simply also masking a lot of the problems that we've discussed a lot in this pod about Juve's attack, simply because of the character and style of player that he is.